June 5th, 1944, 23:50 hours, 2,000 feet above the French coast. The inside of the Armstrong-Whitworth Albemarle bomber is a cramped, vibrating steel coffin. It stinks of sweat, engine oil, and vomit. Private Leo Guts Gauthier, 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion, clutches the static line above his head. His knuckles are white. He is 19 years old, a farmer from rural Quebec. 6 months ago, he had never been in a plane. Now, he is weighed down by 90 pounds of war, a Mark II Sten gun, 12 magazines, 2 No. 36 Mills bomb grenades, a rubber casse, a toggle rope, a shovel, and a 40-pound kit bag strapped to his leg. The man next to him, a logger from British Columbia, is pale, his eyes wide. They are the Red Devils. They are the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion. And they are the impossible point of the spear for the entire D-Day invasion. On the wall of a briefing room in England, a map still hangs. On it, Lieutenant Colonel George F. P. Bradbrook had tapped a single, critical ridge with his pointer. "Gentlemen," his voice had echoed, "we are the Cork. The entire eastern flank of this invasion rests on us. We jump first, we hold last." His finger was on a piece of high ground. Le Mesnil, a ridge that dominated the crossings over the Dives River. "The 21st Panzer Division," Bradbrook had said, his voice dropping, "is here. Their tanks will be on Sword Beach by breakfast. Unless we stop them, we must not fail." This was their impossible task. They were not to take a beach. They were to save one, by dropping in total darkness, 5 hours before the main landing, into the heart of the German army. They are a secret unit, formed in 1942. They are not professional soldiers. They are 600 volunteers, miners, academics, farmers, loggers. They are the toughest, wildest, and most independent men Canada could find. And they have been trained to a razor's edge at Fort Benning and Ringway. They are a new kind of weapon, and they are about to be used for the first time. The coast of France appears, and with it comes hell. Flak, flak, starboard. The night erupts. The plane, a slow, heavy bomber, is not a transport. It is a target. The sky is sliced open by 20mm and 37mm flak tracers, red, white, and green. They are not just near the plane. They are in it. The fuselage rings like a bell as shrapnel punches through the thin aluminum skin. "Jinking! Hang on!" the pilot screams. The Albemarle drops, lurches, and climbs, throwing the paratroopers against each other. Men are screaming. The logger from BC is no longer pale. He is hit. Shrapnel in his chest. The pilots are supposed to be flying low and steady at 500 feet over a drop zone marked by pathfinders. But the pathfinders from the 22nd Independent Para Company are in a fight for their lives. The Eureka beacons are weak. The pilots, blinded by flak and fog, are disoriented. They are accidentally scattered. "Red light on!" The dispatcher's roar cuts through the chaos. The men stand up, a clumsy, shuffling line of overloaded ghosts. They hook their static lines. The plane is still jinking. This is wrong. Gauthier thinks, this is all wrong. Green light on, go, 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 go. There is no choice. It is a violent shove from behind. Gauthier is in the door. The prop wash is a physical 200mm fist. He jumps, the blast of cold air, the crack of his canopy opening, and then a terrifying silence. It is broken by the crackle of MG-42 machine gun fire from the ground. They're shooting at him in the air. He sees the ground, a black, shimmering Liquid. Water. He hits not soft earth, but a 4-foot-deep flooded field, the Dives Valley, intentionally inundated by Rommel. His 90-pound kit bag is an anchor. The water is freezing. His parachute, a 28-foot silk nightmare, is trying to drown him. He gasps, swallows mud, and fumbles for the fighting knife on his chest. He cuts his leg bag. He loses his kit. He keeps his sten. He claws his way to a dike. He is soaked. He is freezing. He is bleeding. He is alone. This is not just Gauthier's story. It is the story of the entire 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion. They are accidentally scattered over 100 square miles of Normandy. Some men land in trees. Some land on rooftops. One, a man from C Company, lands inside a German command post. Lieutenant Colonel Bradbrook lands in a soft-plowed field. His entire command headquarters, gone. C Company, the unit secretly attached to the British 9th Para for the impossible assault on the Merville Battery, is sprinkled like salt. Lieutenant Doc J. S. Riddell, the medical officer, lands and finds himself in a German minefield. Major E. T. Tag Kalkin, commanding A Company, lands and finds 2 men. His mission, destroy the bridge at Robeholm. The band thought, the one every man has, is the same. The plan, the beautiful, meticulous, 6-month plan, is dead. The 1st Canadian Para is not a battalion. It is 600 separate one-man armies lost in the dark, with 3 German divisions waking up around them. The impossible mission has just begun. June 6, 1944, 1:30 hours, near the Dives River. This is not a war. It is a nightmare of shadows and whispers. Major E. T. Tag Kalkin, commander of A Company, is lying in a flooded ditch, his face caked in mud. He has his map. He has his .45 automatic. And he has 2 men, a corporal and a private. His impossible objective, the one drilled into him for 6 months, is the bridge at Robeholm, 4 miles away. He has been ordered to seize it and then destroy it, to prevent German reinforcements from the east. His entire 120-man company, with its special demolition equipment, its Vickers machine guns, and its 3-inch mortars, is gone, scattered to the wind by the flak. Right, Kalkin says, his voice a low growl. We have a job. We're moving. Sir? The corporal whispers, his voice shaking. We're 3. We're 3, Kalkin says, checking the action of his .45. And that's a damn sight better than 0. We'll pick up the rest on the way. Now, shut up and follow me. This is the story. Repeated all over the dark, terrifying fields of Normandy. The battalion is not acting as a battalion. It is acting as individuals, small, isolated groups of men, led by NCOs and officers, are accidentally bumping into each other in the dark. A private from B Company, armed only with his fighting knife, finds a dazed C Company lieutenant. A medic, his kit bag lost in a tree, links up with a Vickers heavy machine gunner, whose 50-pound gun is present, but his tripod is gone. This is not a military formation. It is a swarm of angry, heavily armed fire ants emerging from the ground, and they are all moving, by instinct, toward their objectives. June 6, 1944, 02:30 hours. Outside the Merville Battery, Lieutenant Colonel Terence Otway, the commander of the British 9th Parachute Battalion, is in a state of cold, controlled panic. His mission is, perhaps, the single most critical of the entire pre-dawn operation, destroy the Merville Battery. It is a secret concrete leviathan. 4 massive casemates, holding 150mm guns that are perfectly ranged to enfilade Sword Beach. If those guns are firing at 6 Rommels, the British 3rd Division will not be landing. It will be massacred in the water. Otway had a plan. A beautiful, complex, 750-man plan involving glider landings, sappers, and a full battalion assault. Now, as he does a head count in a dark orchard, he has 150 men. The flak, the fog, and the scattering have been unbelievably catastrophic. He has no heavy mortars. He has no sappers. He has almost no machine guns. His gliders, the ones meant to crash land inside the battery, are gone. And his 150 men are a mix of his own 9th Para and a handful of stragglers from the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion. These are the men of C Company, banned from their own unit's operation and secretly attached to Otway's command. They are the Canadian observers, the specialists, and they are now, accidentally, the frontline assault troops. Right, Otway says, his voice a rasp. The plan is off. The objective remains. We are going to take that battery, bayonets, grenades, and guts. He looks at the Canadians. You lads, you're with me. You're A party. You go for the wire. The impossible assault, planned for a full battalion, is now being undertaken by a single, understrength company of 150 men. The odds are not 10 to 1. They are worse. At 04:30, a whistle blows. Go! The 150 men rise from the ditch and sprint. The result is instantaneous. The Merville Battery, which has been waiting, erupts. Pre-sighted MG-42s open up, their tracers white, green, red slicing the night into ribbons. Mortars thump, thump, thump. Bouncing Betty, S-mines pop, whiz, bang, spraying ball bearings at waist height. It is a slaughter. Men are scythed down in groups, but the Canadians and the British do not stop. They are driven by a fanaticism that the Germans cannot understand. They hit the barbed wire. They have no Bangalore torpedoes. They jump on the wire, using their own bodies as bridges for the men behind them. They hit the minefield. Men are blown to pieces, and the men behind them use the craters as cover. A handful of men, perhaps 60, make it to the casemates. It is no longer a battle. It is a brawl. It is men, screaming in English and French Canadian, jumping into trenches, firing Sten guns from the hip. It is fighting knives and shovels. A Canadian paratrooper, out of ammo, uses his steel helmet to beat a German sentry to death. They get to the first casemate. The 6-inch thick steel door is locked. A C Company lieutenant hurls a gammon bomb, a sock full of plastic explosive, at the door. The explosion blows the door off its hinges. They storm inside. The casemate is a dark, concrete box full of smoke. They do not stop to take prisoners. In 20 minutes of the most savage, brutal, hand-to-hand fighting of D-Day, it is over. Lieutenant Colonel Otway, his face black, his uniform ripped, fires the success flare. The battery is silent. The impossible has been done. But the cost of the 150 who attacked. 75 are dead or wounded. The Canadians of C Company have taken horrific losses. But the guns that would have shelled Sword Beach are silent. June 6th, 1944, 05 hours. The bridge at Robeholme. Major Tag Calkin's impossible army of 3 has accidentally grown. He has spent 4 hours in the dark, moving by map and compass, and collecting his lost men. Like a shepherd in hell, he has found them. A Bren gunner here, a lieutenant and 6 men there. A secret Royal Engineer sapper, dragging his explosives. By the time he reaches the Robeholm Bridge, his army is 30 men. They are facing a dug-in platoon of German infantry with an MG-42. "Right," Kalkin says. "This is it. Standard drill." Bren, up on the flank. "Fix them. Lieutenant, you're with me. We go straight down the middle." It is a textbook assault, carried out in the pre-dawn gloom by 30 exhausted, soaked, and furious Canadians. It is over in 5 minutes. The MG-42 is silenced. The bridge is theirs. The sapper, his hands shaking, gets to work. "Sir," the sapper says, his voice tight. "The bridge, it's steel, not wood. The charges I've got, it's not enough to drop it. I can damage it, make it impassable, but I can't blow it." "Then do that," Kalkin roars. The sapper packs the explosives against the main girders. K-boom! The explosion is massive. It doesn't destroy the bridge. It twists it, tearing a huge 30-foot gap in the roadway, leaving the steel girders mangled. It is useless. Objective taken. Kalkin pants as the sun begins to rise. All across the Dives Valley, the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion, scattered, broken, and impossible, has done it. The bridges at Varaville, Robeholm, and Troarn are blown. The Merville battery is silent. And now, as the first rays of the sun hit the ridges, Lieutenant Colonel Bradbrook, who has finally found his command post at the Le Mesnil crossroads, gets his first radio signal. It is not from the beaches. It is from the east. "Contact! Contact! Armored vehicles. Bearing 270. It's panzers." The impossible mission is not over. The real fight, the one that will save D-Day, is just beginning. The 1st Canadian Para, 10-1, has to hold the line. June 6th, 1944, 7:15 hours, the Le Mesnil crossroads. The pre-dawn gloom has evaporated, replaced by a bright, warm, summer morning. And it is a morning of absolute, impossible terror. Lieutenant Colonel George Bradbrook, his face a mask of dried mud and 36-hour exhaustion, is lying in a 3-foot-deep ditch. His battalion headquarters is this ditch. He has, through shepherding and sheer luck, collected about 300 of his 600 men. They are not a battalion. They are a wreckage. They are 300 men who have been dropped into floods, shot at in the air, and have been fighting hand to hand in the dark for 6 hours. They have almost no food. Their water bottles are half empty. Their heavy weapons consist of a handful of Vickers machine guns, most missing their tripods, a few 3-inch mortars with only a dozen bombs, and a Piat, projector, infantry, anti-tank for every 20 men. And they are all gathered on this one, insignificant, chalky ridge. Le Mesnil, Private Leo. Guts Gauthier. The farmer from Quebec has finally found them. He has no kit, he has no helmet, he has his Sten gun and 3 magazines. He is given a shovel. "Start digging, son," a sergeant growls at him, "and pray." They are the cork, and the bottle is about to be shaken. The sound starts at 07:30. It is not the crackle of rifles. It is a deep, mechanical, clanking growl. It is the sound of metal on road. It is the sound that every infantryman dreads. Panzers! From the east, along the road from Troarn, the first elements of the 21st Panzer Division are advancing. These are the tanks that were supposed to be stopped by the blown bridges. But they are part of Kampfgruppe von Luck, a fast-moving, combined arms battle group. They have found a crossing, and from the north, from the coast, elements of the 716th Infantry Division, a static division that has been shattered by the landings, are now counterattacking, trying to reclaim this vital high ground. And from the south, the 711th Infantry Division is probing, pushing, and realizing that this invasion is not just on the coast. The 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion is not being attacked by one enemy. It is unbelievably being attacked by 3 separate German armies, all at the same time. They are outnumbered, not 10 to 1, but 20 to 1. Hold your fire! Hold your fire! Bradbrook roars. The first German attack is a probe. A Panzer IV tank, its long 75mm gun menacing, clanks up the road, followed by 2 Sonderkraft Fahrzeug 251 half-tracks, bristling with Panzer Grenadiers in their field gray uniforms. They think they are mopping up a few banned British stragglers. They have no idea they are advancing on the headquarters of an entire, furious battalion. Piat! A lieutenant screams. Piat team, up! A corporal and a private, his hands shaking, crawl to the edge of the ditch. The Piat is a comically large, spring-loaded ashcan launcher. It is a secret weapon that only works at suicidal range. Wait for it. The Panzer IV is 100 yards away. Now. The Piat man fires. The weapon thunks, a sound like a mattress being punched, and a 3-pound bomb streaks and bounces harmlessly off the Panzer's frontal sloped armor. The Panzer's turret, which had been facing forward, swivels. It swivels slowly, with a hydraulic whine, until its long gun is pointing directly at the ditch. Get down! The 75mm main gun fires. Kraboom! The explosion is not a bang. It is a concussion that rips the air apart. The Piat team is gone, vaporized. The Panzer Grenadiers are dismounting from their half-tracks, fanning out, their MG-42s opening up. T-t-t-t-t-t-t-t. Vickers! Bradbrook yells. Vickers! On the infantry! A Canadian machine gun, its tripod accidentally lost, is propped up on the body of a dead cow. Its gunner, a man from Winnipeg, opens up. Brat, 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 brat. It is a slower, more deliberate sound than the MG-42. It is a sound of control. The gunner isn't spraying. He is stitching, cutting the German infantry down in 5-round bursts. Mortar. The single 3-inch mortar thumps. Bren guns, fire, fire. For 10 minutes, the Le Mesnil crossroads becomes a small, self-contained hell. It is 300 Canadians, with rifles, Brens, and 1 machine gun, against a Panzer and 60 elite German infantry. The Panzer Grenadiers, veterans of the Eastern Front, are stunned. This is not a straggler. This is a prepared position. They fall back, dragging their wounded, protected by the fire of their tank. The Panzer fires twice more, buttoning up, and then, realizing it is alone, it slowly reverses, disappearing down the road. Silence falls. It is broken only by the sound of men gasping, and the click, click, click of rifle bolts as they reload. Guts Gauthier is shaking so hard he can barely put a new magazine in his Sten. Right, Bradbrook says, standing up, covered in dirt. That was the first. They'll be back. Dig. Dig as if your life depends on it. Because it does. The impossible mission, blowing the bridges, was the easy part. The real mission, the banned from all thought mission, has just become clear. They must hold this ridge. They are the cork. They are the only thing between the 21st Panzer Division and the 15,000 British soldiers who are, at this very moment, dying in the surf on Sword Beach. The 1st Canadian Para cannot retreat. They cannot fail. And the Germans are just getting started. June 6th, 1944. 11 hours. A slit trench at the Le Mesnil crossroads. Private Leo Guts Gauthier is trying to make himself small. He is trying to become one with the chalky, white earth. The world is no longer ground. It is just sound. A high-pitched, screaming shriek that tears the air, followed by a crump, 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 crump of an 81mm mortar salvo. Dirt and chalk pebbles rain down on his helmet. "Keep your heads down," a sergeant yells. Uselessly, everyone's head is already as low as it can go. The 10-minute battle at 07:30 was not a victory. It was a warning. The Germans, the 21st Panzer, and the 716th Infantry now knew they were here, and they were angry. This is the impossible reality of the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion's mission. They are not a spear. They are a cork, and the bottle contains 3 German divisions, all furious, all trying to get to the beaches. The men in the ditch are no longer the 600 elite paratroopers of England. They are a haggard band of 300 survivors. Their jump smocks are ripped, caked in black mud from the dives, and stained with blood, their own or their friends'. They have no food. The benzodrine tablets in their medical kits are keeping them awake, but they are running on a ragged chemical edge. Lieutenant Colonel Bradbrook knows his position is a death trap, a crossroads on a bare ridge. He has no anti-tank guns. He has no artillery support. He has only his men and their rifles. The banned thought, the one that every military manual would endorse, is to retreat, to pull back, to consolidate, to save his battalion. But he cannot. He looks west, where he can just hear the distant, thunderous rumble of the naval bombardment on Sword Beach. He is the only thing standing between that beach and the entire German 7th Army. "No one," he says to his radio operator. No one. Retreats. This is it. We hold or we die. The second attack comes at 11:30. It is not the panzers. It is the infantry. From the woods to the north, elements of the 716th Infantry Division begin their assault. These are not first-rate troops, but they are veterans, and there are hundreds of them. They advance in textbook fashion, pepper-potting with their MG-42s, bounding forward in gray-green waves. "Hold." The Canadian sergeants whisper down the line, "Hold. Let them come." The Germans are advancing up the bare slope. 500 yards. 400. Now! The 1st Canadian Para is a secret unit not just for its jump training, but because it is composed entirely of volunteers. And in 1944, that meant it was a battalion of marksmen. Men who had hunted moose in Ontario and deer in British Columbia. The response is not a panicked spray of fire. It is a volley. A coordinated, disciplined, vicious volley of .303 rifle fire. Crack, 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 brat, brat, brat. The Vickers guns, now properly set up, join in. The effect is devastating. The German front line dissolves. It does not fall back. It is scythed down. The men behind them hesitate, falter, and then break, running back to the woods. A ragged hoarse cheer goes up from the Canadian ditch. It is cut short. The shriek begins again. The Germans, having failed with infantry, have called in the moaning minis, the Nebelwerfer. It is a 6-barreled rocket mortar, and its primary weapon is terror. The rockets make a sound like a screaming, tearing banshee, a sound that gets inside a man's skull before the explosion. A full battery lands on the crossroads. Shree, boom, 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 boom. The world is just noise, smoke, and flying chalk. Men are hit. A direct hit on a Bren gun position turns 3 men into red mist. Gauthier is crying. He doesn't know it. He is just crying, his body convulsing with each impact, his hands clamped over his helmet. In the regimental aid post, a shell crater 50 yards behind the line, Lieutenant Doc J. S. Riddell is working on a man whose arm is gone at the shoulder. "Morphine," he yells. "We're out, sir," his orderly screams back. We lost it all in the jump." Riddell looks at the man's face, gray with shock. He pulls a flask of rum from his own pocket. "Here, son," he says, forcing it into the man's mouth. "Drink this." He looks up at the sky, at the smoke, at the impossibility of his situation. He has no plasma, no morphine, no bandages. He is a surgeon. With nothing but a knife and a flask of rum, 14 ice hours. The main event. The moaning minis stop. An unnatural, terrifying silence falls. "Get ready?" Brad Brooks says, his voice a rasp. He hears it. The sound he has been dread. The clank-squeak-clank of panzers. Kampfgruppe von Luck is back. And this time, it is not a probe. 4 Panzer IVs. Their long 75mm guns pointing forward. 6 half-tracks loaded with Panzer Grenadiers and 2 self-propelled Stug assault guns. This is not an attack. This is an execution. They are unbelievably attacking from 3 sides at once. The 716th from the north, the 701th from the south, and now the 21st Panzer. Straight up the main road, the 300 Canadians are completely, 10 to 1, surrounded. "Piats!" a sergeant major screams. "Piats! To the front!" A young lieutenant, just 22, crawls forward with his Piat team. He has 1 bomb. "This is it, lads." He pants, his hands shaking as he cocks the massive spring. "We don't hit the front. We hit the tracks. Wait. The lead panzer is 75 yards away. Its coaxial machine gun is firing. T. Tracers bouncing off the ditch. Fire! The Piat thunks. The bomb, a tiny, finned thing, streaks out. It hits. The explosion is small, but it's perfect. It hits the drive sprocket. The panzer's left track snaps and spills onto the road. The 30-ton tank lurches and grinds to a halt. It is a mission kill. A second panzer, seeing its comrade hit, swivels. It fires its main gun. Kraboom! The Piat team is gone. Their crater is just a bigger crater. But the cost was 1 bomb. 3 men for 1 panzer. The Panzer Grenadiers are dismounting, swarming up the slope. "Bayonets!" a Canadian voice roars. It is Major Calkin. He has accidentally made it back from the Roby home bridge. Just in time. He has 30 men left from A Company. Bren guns. Cover. A company. Charge. This is the impossible moment. This is the banned tactic. You do not charge panzers. You do not charge dug-in MG-42s. The 30 Canadians do not care. They are half mad with exhaustion, benzodrine, and rage. They scream. A high-pitched, terrifying First Nations war cry. They rise from their ditches, 30 men, and they charge down the hill at the dismounting Panzer Grenadiers, the Germans, veterans of Russia. Stop. They are stunned. They are supposed to be the attackers. They are not expecting 30 screaming, wild-eyed madmen with bayonets to come flying at them. The mad charge crashes into the German line. It is not a battle. It is a brawl. It is rifle butts, shovels, and knives. Gauthier, his Sten gun empty, finds himself swinging his shovel, connecting with a German's helmet with a dull clunk. The Panzer Grenadiers break. They break and run. They scramble back to their half-tracks, leaving their dead and wounded. The Panzers, their infantry screen gone, are suddenly vulnerable. They fire one more volley, and then, in a cloud of diesel smoke, they reverse, they pull back. The crossroads is still Canadian. The 30 men of A Company stumble back to their ditches, their chests heaving. They have lost 6 more men, but they have held. 17 hours, none hours. The lull. The battlefield is quiet. It is littered with the dead. German and Canadian. Bradbrook is on his radio, his voice a raw whisper. Sunray, this is P. We are holding. But we are not effective. We are out of Payat ammo. We are out of mortar ammo. We have maybe 10 rounds per man. I have 150 wounded. We need everything. We need help. The voice from 6th Airborne HQ crackles back. Hello. P. Good show. Hold. At all costs. I repeat. Hold at all costs. The Seaborne are delayed. They are not off the beach. You are the flank. You are the flank. Bradbrook lowers the handset. He looks at his signals officer. Right. We hold. The impossible mission has just been extended. They have survived D-Day. Now, they have to survive the night. And as the sun begins to set, the real German artillery, the 88s, the 105s, the heavy guns, having finally registered their position, opens up. The final, secret test has begun. The 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion, out of ammo, surrounded and outnumbered, must band the thought of survival. They must only hold. June 6th, 1944. 21 hours. The Les Mesnil crossroads. The world is no longer chalk and sun. It is a hell of red and black flashes. The heavy German artillery has found the range. This is not a probe with mortars. This is a drum fire. 105mm 155 Mayer's shells are walking up and down the ridge, a systematic industrial erasure. Private Leo. Guts Gauthier is in his ditch. His shovel, the one he'd used as a weapon, is now his only shield. He's not a soldier. He's not a farmer. He is a primitive creature, curled in a hole, reduced to a single primal instinct: endure. He has not eaten in 24 hours. He has not slept in 48. His water bottle has been empty since noon. His mouth is full of chalk dust and the metallic taste of fear. With every screaming shell, the ground leaps and kicks him. A giant, unseen boot. To his left, a Vickers gun pit takes a direct hit. The explosion is a wet, final thump. The brat that had been a comforting, defiant sound all day is gone. The 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion is dying. Not in a blaze of glory, but in 3-man increments, pulverized by unseen guns in the dark. Lieutenant Colonel Bradbrook, his command ditch, now just a wider crater, is on his last legs. He has 150 wounded men lying in the open, being tended by Doc Riddell, who is now out of rum, out of everything. Every officer Bradbrook has is a casualty or a ghost. Major Calkin, The hero of Rommel and the bayonet charge has a piece of shrapnel in his shoulder. He has tied a field dressing around it and is still walking the line, from crater to crater. Hold on, lads. His voice is a gravelly rasp. Hold on. They haven't broke us yet. This is the impossible truth. The battalion is no longer a fighting force. It is a symbol. It is a 300-man band sign staked into the eastern flank of Normandy. The Germans are coming. The 21st Panzer's Panzer Grenadiers are not fools. They know the Canadians are at their breaking point. At 02 hours, under the cover of the shelling, they attack. Again, no tanks, just 200 stormtroopers, veterans of the Eastern Front, moving like ghosts, their potato masher grenades in their belts. They do not charge. They infiltrate. Incoming. A grenade lands in Gauthier's ditch. He sees it, a black, stick-like object. He does not think. He reacts. The 19-year-old farmer, the man who was scared, grabs the grenade and hurls it back out of the ditch. It explodes harmlessly, 10 feet away. He scrambles for his Sten and fires a 3-round burst at the shadow that threw it. He hears a grunt all along the line, the same, desperate. Secret brawl is happening. It is a war of hand grenades, shovels, and curses. The Canadians are out of ammunition. They are not out of fight. They are firing their last few rounds. They are breaking their rifles as clubs. And the Germans falter. They had expected a shattered, surrendering rabble. They have accidentally run into 300 men who are, quite simply, too stubborn, too angry, and too Canadian to know that they are beaten. The infiltration attack is repulsed. The Germans pull back, leaving their dead. They will not try again. They will wait for the dawn and let the 88s finish the job. June 7th, 1944. 04 hours. The crossroads is silent. The shelling has stopped. It is the cold, gray, dead hour before dawn. Bradbrook is on his feet. He has, maybe, 200 men who can still hold a rifle. They have, on average, 3 bullets per man. This is the end. The impossible mission is over. When the sun comes up, the panzers will roll over them as if they were never there. "Sir," the radio operator says, his voice a cracked whisper. I have a signal. From the west, from the beaches." "What is it, man?" Bradbrook demands. It's not a signal, sir. Listen." Bradbrook stands. He strains his ears. Over the sound of the wind, over the distant crump of artillery, he hears it. It is a thin, reedy, unbelievable sound. It is bagpipes. The sound is a Highland lad. "My God," Bradbrook whispers. He is crying. He does not care. He stumbles to the edge of the crater and fires his flare gun, a single green flare. Here we are. The bagpipes get louder. And at 4:45, a figure, a tall, ramrod-straight man in a green beret, vaults over the western ditch. It is Lord Lovett, commander of the 1st Special Service Brigade. Behind him are his British commandos, their faces painted, their own piper. Bill Millen, still playing. They have landed on Sword Beach. They have fought their way inland, from Pegasus Bridge. And they are here. "Ah," Lovett says, calmly, to the mud-caked, blood-soaked, wild-eyed Canadian colonel. "Bradbrook, is it? We're a bit late, I'm afraid. Had a spot of bother at the bridge." "Lieutenant Colonel Bradbrook." The man who has held off 3 German divisions for 28 hours just nods. He cannot speak. He just nods. The link-up is made. The flank is held. The 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion's impossible D-Day was over. They had been scattered over 100 square miles. They had been banned from fighting as a cohesive unit. They had, in small, accidental groups, destroyed all their bridge objectives. A handful of their men had secretly helped take the Merville Battery, saving Sword Beach from destruction. And their main force, a 300-man remnant, had held the Le Mesnil Ridge alone. They had been attacked by the 21st Panzer Division, the 716th Infantry, and the 701th Infantry. They had been outnumbered 10-1, shelled into dust. And they did not break. They had, by sheer, stubborn Canadian grit, saved the entire eastern flank of D-Day from a catastrophic panzer counterattack. They would not be relieved. They would go on to fight for 76 more days in Normandy, without a break. But on that day, June 6, 1944, the 600 Canadian farmers, loggers, and miners had done the impossible. They had been the cork, the anvil, and the spear, and they had held